Good morning. Today is the 6th of October, 2025. And if you are an American, a U.S. citizen, the most recent ICE raid in Chicago should be your wake-up call. The chickens are coming home to roost. And by chickens, I mean the U.S. military tactics that were used outside of the U.S., now being used to target everyday Americans. Black Americans like myself cannot afford to ignore what is happening to other oppressed groups around the world. Understanding how these oppressed groups resist U.S. militarism and other authoritarian regimes could be the difference between life and death, democracy, or fascism. My name is Jojo with the GoJo7 News, always on the go, always working for you. The World News Report is designed for stupid Americans who want to unstupid themselves by learning more about international politics and the U.S. foreign policy. On a somewhat regular basis, we unpack news stories from around the globe from the previous week. Between Thursday night and Friday morning, the same military that said it is not blocking aid to the occupied territory that it controls blocked 40 humanitarian aid ships carrying food and baby formula to the occupied territory, which is now in its fifth stage of famine. While 130 activists were released via deportation to Turkey, many others remain detained, including Nkosi Mandela, Nelson Mandela's grandson. The U.S. continues to run amok in the Caribbean waters. On Friday, the U.S. released a video, it says, shows the U.S. military striking a boat near the coast of Venezuela, reportedly killing 4 people the U.S. has accused of trafficking narcotics. This is the 4th time the U.S. has played judge, jury, and executioner of Venezuelan boats in the Caribbean. Last week, Trump formally declared that the U.S. is in an armed conflict with drug cartels. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi stated that Britain, France, and Germany, he states, unquote, they thought they had leverage in their hands, threatening to implement a snapback. Thought you had leverage. See, that's the thing, you thought you had leverage. Now they have used this lever and seen the results. What's the results, Abbas? What's the results? Quote, the 3 European countries have definitely diminished their role and almost eliminated the justification for negotiations with them. Basically, Abbas was like, y'all let Big Bibi Netanyahu, along with the U.S. maniac in chief, bomb us, bomb our facilities. Now y'all want to put sanctions on us. We ain't coming back to the table. There's no negotiations. Y'all are irrelevant. He said y'all are irrelevant. Iran has said that it will remain a part of the non-proliferation treaty, but they also said, quote, the Cairo Agreement is no longer relevant for our cooperation with the International Atomic Energy Agency. In the global economy last week, gold is up and oil is down. Should oil-dependent countries be worried? For Guyana, it might be time to tighten up. 3 U.S. senators, including Rhode Island's Sheldon Whitehouse, Oregon's Jeff Merkley, and my very own Senator Chris Van Hollen from Maryland, have opened an investigation into whether U.S. taxpayers are subsidizing ExxonMobil's operations in Guyana. Now, as a U.S. and a Guyanese citizen, I'd like to assure these senators, including my own, hey Chris, come here. Guyanese taxpayers are most certainly getting the short end of the stick here. If anyone is subsidizing ExxonMobil's operations, is Guyanese. But transparency is important for a thriving democracy. Other citizens of Guyana, such as the Forward Guyana Movement Party, welcomed the investigation, hoping for greater transparency on where the money is. Last week, America's favorite bald billionaire called artificial intelligence an industrial bubble at the Italian Tech Week 2025. He cried about, investors have a hard time in the middle of all this excitement, distinguishing between the good ideas and the bad ones. The Amazon CEO also claimed that AI will benefit society, but all that shines is not gold. Let's break down his statement. What do bubbles do? What does he mean by the good ideas and the bad ones? What does he mean by all this excitement? Many experts have started to compare AI with one of the most famous bubbles of the 21st century, the dot-com crash, where the value of internet companies plummeted in the early 2000s. Also, Banks like Goldman Sachs and ING have warned their investors that AI has hidden costs and limited benefits. Additionally, Geoffrey Hinton, often referred to as the godfather of AI, continues to raise alarms about ethical concerns. Despite all of this, y'all keep sending me talking baby videos. I don't care. I don't care what a fake baby has to say, okay? It's not real. Last week, Apple unveiled a new version of the Apple Watch that you absolutely do not need. The latest design is resistant to water as well as the cries of Congolese children who have been forced to work in the cobalt mines that supply raw materials for Apple's tech. Any sale price that you see of this product is only possible with the exploitation of African people. Young people in Morocco, many of them under 18 years old, held demonstrations in more than a dozen cities across the country. They're concerned about the government investing billions into tourism infrastructure, such as an airport and a FIFA World Cup stadium, while public infrastructure crumbles. Victims of the 2023 earthquake in Al-Huz remain unhoused and in tents. And in the month of September alone, 8 women died while giving birth in a public hospital. Madagascar President Andrés Suena said Friday that he is ready to listen to the protesters' demands. Protesters demanded that he resign. He has since stopped listening. You may have heard that on September 15th, a 21-year-old black student named Demetravion Reed, also known as Trey, was found hanging from a tree on the campus of Delta State University. Rest assured. Last week, a Mississippi examiner has claimed that in a state with over 500 documented cases of lynching black people, and yes, the same state where 215 people were found buried in an unmarked grave behind a jailhouse just last year. Preliminary autopsy results conclude that Trey Reed hung himself to a tree, and there's no evidence of foul play. In other news, a Mississippi study has claimed that 95% of Black Americans were born yesterday. Now it's time for our hot tea segment of the day. Ow. This one's hot. Yeah. The University of Southern California, USC, sold 89 unclaimed or unidentified bodies to the US Navy for nearly $1 million, $860,000 US dollars to be exact. 32 of those 89 bodies were transferred to the Israel military for medical training purposes. That's according to an article by the Los Angeles Daily News. Maybe I just don't know enough, but why would they need bodies from the US when they already admitted to using bodies of African migrants and Palestinians way back in the 90s without the approval of families of those people? Check the links in the description, girl. Oh my God. Last week during a Yom Kippur celebration on the holiest day in Judaism, there was a tragic and fatal attack on a synagogue in Manchester, England, leaving 2 people dead and 3 injured, proving that police are incompetent at both preventing and safely stopping crime. Manchester police admitted last Friday one of the victims who passed was accidentally shot by the British police as they attempted to apprehend the attacker. Another victim was injured by police gunfire and is being treated in a hospital. Our thoughts and prayers are with the victims and their families, especially Adrian Dalby, who was preventing the attacker from entering a room when he was fatally shot by police. Hundreds of Namibian soldiers have been dispatched to Etosha National Park, one of the largest such parks in Africa, in order to contain a wildfire that has burned more than a third of the park's lands. Government officials have reported the fire has destroyed precious grazing land and wildlife habitats. It's also killed off a handful of animals. The fire might have been started a week ago by a charcoal production operation, according to a statement from the Ministry of Environment, Forestry, and Tourism. Ooh, baby, we're gonna have to keep South Asia on the player line. Typhoon Boaloy killed dozens of people in Vietnam last week, as well as Central Philippines. This further complicated the Philippines' disaster response to a deadly 6.9 magnitude earthquake that killed 72 people across cities like Cebu and left many, many others injured and displaced. All this while citizens of the Philippines continue to demand justice for a corruption scandal involving flood control projects. Guinea is set to hold its first elections since a US-backed coup in 2021 when American Green Berets arrived in Guinea to train Special Forces unit led by the Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya. At some point during this training, the same unit decided to storm the presidential palace, and Colonel Doumbouya soon declared himself the new leader of Guinea. The US ended the training shortly after. In the country of Georgia, the ruling party, Georgia Dream, won local elections Saturday. As polls closed, tens of thousands of people rallied in front of the presidential palace in an attempt to do what the opposition parties call, quote, the last chance, end quote, to save Georgian democracy. Billionaire businessman and Trump supporter Andrej Babis has won parliamentary elections in Czech Republic. He is expected to build a coalition with the extremely right-wing and anti-immigration party, SPD, to secure a majority in parliament. CNN reports that the prime minister-elect must overcome some hurdles to become prime minister, including conflict of interest laws as owner of a chemical and food empire, and long-running fraud charges relating to drawing an EU subsidy over 15 years ago, claims he denies. The 71-year-old was previously prime minister from 2017 to 2021, and he boasted about his fond memories of working with Donald Trump. Czech isn't the only government giving geriatric men a second chance in politics. Malawi's president, Peter Mutharika, was sworn in for a second term after securing 56% of the vote. According to Reuters, he has vowed to root out government corruption. Japan welcomes its first woman prime minister, Sanae Takaichi. But before the feminists get too excited, lean in. While her campaign focused on economic security and pushing back on US tariffs, her domestic policies emphasize tighter immigration rules. Specifically, criticized criminal activity involving foreign nationals and expressed concern over the broader effects of immigration on Japanese society. Sounds familiar? She is definitely ultra-conservative and does not hide it. Greenland sent a representative to the European political community in Copenhagen, leading many to believe that the North American country is deepening its ties with the EU in order to rebuff Trump's advances. Claims of ownership. We have an unconfirmed response from Donald Trump stating, yes. Trump has said Greenland is just playing hard to get. Greenland is currently an autonomous territory within the Kingdom of Denmark. But we know how our president likes to grab them.
When you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the I can do anything.
Last week, the travel industry had some major news. First up, 2 Black American women are seeking legal action after they claimed that one of them survived a kidnapping while on vacation in Tunisia last month. Jamaica Ivy said that shortly after she returned to her Tunisian hotel, she was drugged and woke up in the back of a car. Meanwhile, back at the hotel, her friend and travel companion was told by hotel employees that Jamaica Ivy had made a friend and left the resort with that friend.
How can she make a friend? She doesn't speak these languages.
Mika has 2 black eyes, scrapes on her arms, and other injuries. She was able to get away and frantically make it back to the hotel.
Ivy reported the attack to the U.S. Embassy in Tunisia, and has met with local authorities as well as the U.S. State Department about her experience. Boeing has started designs for a new plane they say will replace the 737 MAX. But unfortunately, they're removing the very popular features such as ejectable doors and the Dutch roll. It's basically like the Mary J. Blige of plane maneuvers, you know? The Icelandic budget airline Play unexpectedly ceased operations last week, leaving 1,750 passengers stranded in Reykjavik. Brazilian Health Minister Alexander Bagia urged Brazilians to avoid drinking distilled beverages after Brazil reported 20 cases of methanol poisoning between August and September of this year. There are three main types of alcohol. Ethanol is safe for consumption and found in spirits and distilled alcohol. Isopropanol is used in sanitizers and rubbing alcohol. Methanol, also known as wood alcohol, is used in fuel, antifreeze, and solvents. Methanol poisoning can cause headaches, dizziness, nausea, vomiting, blurred vision, seizures, and even a coma. That's according to the U.S. Center for Disease Control. Most of the cases occurred in Sao Paulo. But if you're planning a trip to Brazil, it might be best to stick to beer and wine. A statue depicting Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein holding hands has returned to the National Mall in Washington, a week after National Park Service removed it. Finally, some good news. While the Israel Navy was distracted, blocking humanitarian ships from entering the shores of Gaza, Palestinian fishermen had the chance to fish for the first time in months without the fear of violent attacks. While the ships missed the shoreline by just a few hours, in a way, the global Samud flotilla managed to still feed the people of Gaza. So that's what happened in the news last week. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more global news updates. Please get involved with a grassroots organization in your area. Visit a Sudan Solidarity protest near you. Follow Focus Congo for more information on what's happening to Congolese people. And lastly, if you care, you cannot give up. Hope is not passive. It is about action. Once again, my name is Jojo with the GoJo7 News. Always on the go. Always working for you. Good night, everyone.